Hey, on today's podcast, I want to talk about 4 things I'm unapologetic about as a mother and an entrepreneur. And you're going to have to bear with me because you can probably hear it in my voice. I don't sound great, but hey, part of this podcast and part of the vibe here is that I'm going to show up for you real. And sometimes the world doesn't stop when you're not feeling well. My business doesn't stop. Certainly the podcast doesn't stop. So I am here, nasally and all, and hopefully you'll bear with me. So let's dive in to 4 things I'm unapologetic about as a mother and an entrepreneur CEO. The first one is showing up as I am. And we're doing it right here. Okay, you can hear it in my voice that I'm not 100% today. And I'm going to keep showing up though, even though it's not perfect. And I think that that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Like as a mother and an entrepreneur, it's not always going to be perfect. And early on in my coaching career and when I started in the online space, there was a coach that is a relatively popular coach who made a comment to the effect of, nobody's going to pay you if you show up looking like you work at a gas station. And I'm going to be honest, there are lots of days where I look like I could work at a gas station, and not that there's anything wrong with working at a gas station, but the intent of the message was that if you don't look polished, professional, you're not perfect, nobody's going to pay you. And I am unapologetic about the fact that sometimes I'm going to show up imperfect. In fact, imperfect action is what got me where I am in my business. It wasn't from waiting for the perfect moment. It wasn't from waiting to see if everything was going to work out. So showing up as I am in any given moment, whether that's hair brushed, hair not brushed, voice perfect, voice not perfect, makeup on or off, okay? I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to show up for my clients. I'm going to show up for my social media followers. That is what I'm doing. I'm going to show up as I am in my authentic way, because any other way is truly exhausting. And today's a day where I know I was recording some podcasts. So I thought I would brush my hair and put some makeup on, even though my voice sounds awful. We're doing it anyway. So showing up as I am, I'm unapologetic about that. That is the first one. The second thing that I'm unapologetic about is doing it differently. The way that I build my business, and likely the way that you build your business, is so different than potentially your industry peers, other people that do similar work than you, if they don't have kids. And that's just the reality. Running a business is hard. Running a business with kids is harder. And so it's just got to look different. It's not going to look the same. The way that I ran my business as a childless entrepreneur is so different than the way that I ran my business as a mother of 1 or a mother of 2. And what's so important to remember is that everybody has different circumstances. It's so easy to compare yourself to other people in your industry or other people that are, at similar stages in their business, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? I don't have a lot of help. Any help that I have in my business or with my kids, I've had to hire, right? I don't have, mom and dad down the street that are going to come and help. My children have never been to their in-laws, my in-laws, or my parents' house for the weekend. I don't have that kind of help. We don't have that kind of support. And that's not a knock on them. That's just the reality. And so there's a lot of people that maybe even have kids that have a lot of support. Mom and dad, grand and granddad come over, they take the kids for the week so you can do whatever it is that you need to do. That is not my reality. And so for me, we are full-time parenting with very little support. There is no village, as much as I wish that there was. There just isn't one. And so I think it's really important to remember that my business is going to be different than somebody else's business that is potentially doing the same thing. So really thinking about being okay with running your business differently. And that kind of leads me into the third point. And the third point is managing my sources. And this is something I'm unapologetic about in terms of managing who I am receiving information from, who I am looking to for mentorship and support. Because somebody that hasn't lived the life of being a mom and entrepreneur, or a primary parent and an entrepreneur, is not somebody that can understand what goes on in a day-to-day. They just can't. There's no way for anybody to really understand what that's like unless they've lived it. And so one of the sort of key rules that I have for myself is when I am looking for mentorship, when I'm looking for paying, whether that's a coach or a consultant, to come into my business, or at least to support me, they have to understand what it's like to live in my shoes. They're not going to understand the details, right? But they have to know what it is to navigate the title of mother and CEO at the same time, because there is a unique challenge that comes with that most people just don't get it unless you've lived it. And so in that, really managing my sources and doing it differently and being okay with that, because how I run my business is going to be so different than how somebody without kids runs their business, or how somebody with kids with a lot of support runs their business, or how somebody with kids and a lot of resources manage their business. And so I am just unapologetic about how I do things, because if those are the things that are supportive for my family, and those are the things that are supportive for us, and that's what we're going to do. And so in that managing my sources piece is really important, because I want to make sure that when I'm receiving advice, and let's be honest, there's a lot of information, a lot of advice that you can receive as an online entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur in general, right? There's no shortage of information available. And so really making sure that you're taking that information with a grain of salt, because it's not always going to be information that is going to make sense for you, right? A lot of people talk about morning routines, for example, waking up at 5 a.m., meditating, journaling for an hour, making a nutritious breakfast, going for a gratitude walk. Those are all really beautiful things. If I had time to do that, if I didn't know my kids was going to be up at 6 a.m., if I could trust that my kid would sleep until like 7, then yeah, maybe I would get up at 5 a.m. and do that. But that's not realistic for me. I can't go for 2 gratitude walks a day. I can't wake up at 5 a.m. I can't meditate for an hour and journal for an hour. That's just not my reality. What I can do is an abbreviated version of that. What I can do is a version of a morning routine that makes sense for me. And so it's important that when you are receiving information, that you are putting it through a filter. And so from that perspective, I filter the information I receive when it's like, oh, that's a person I really respect, but what they're saying doesn't fit for my life or this season of my life. That's okay. Or that's a person I really respect, but I don't think that person is going to be the right coach or mentor for me, because they don't know what it's like to live a day in my shoes. I have been on calls with mentors who have challenged that I'm not doing enough, or I'm not committed to specific work, around personal development and things like that, who have challenged that I am not willing, or that I am not able, or we're not willing to make the space to, spend 20 minutes a day meditating or whatever it is. And I find, and, I have a few different stories actually that I want to share. And 2 examples. So the first one is, being on a call with a mindset and personal development mentor who, was pushing that my life isn't set up in a way that is supportive of my emotional release and my manifestation and things like that. And this person was not a parent. This person doesn't know what it's like to run a business and have kids. And while I think it is so important to make time for yourself, and I do that in my own way, and it's something that I continue to work on, what was being asked of me by this person wasn't something that was realistic. And the more that I said it was not realistic, the more they pushed. And it was a really powerful realization for me that, no, this person genuinely doesn't know what it's like to live a day in my shoes, to have 2 children, to run a business, to actually run 2 businesses, to have a husband that is a first responder, and a partner that's a first responder, and everything that comes with that. Because if you have ever been a partner of a first responder, whether that's fire, police, paramedic, nurse, it is hard. And there are layers to that. And I'm sure we'll do a podcast on that one day. But it was just truly an example of a person that doesn't understand what it's like to be in my shoes. And so there's that side of it. And the other side of it, the other story that I want to share that's just sort of dropped down into my brain as I'm recording is last summer, I had a conversation with a mentor, a business mentor, who was intended to, I was looking at hiring this person to help me grow my business. And so I got on the call with this person. I wasn't really sure what I was signing, what the call was about, to be honest. And it was going to be a 2-month intensive program with them. It was a 5-figure investment, so very high in terms of investment. And I was, looking forward to doing it. However, the timing was going to be July and August for this 2-month intensive. And while I desired to do the work, I had to recognize that, okay, July and August, that's the summer. Those are the summer months. And my intention over that time is to have my children home part-time so that we can swim in the pool. We're fortunate enough to have a pool in our home, swim in the pool, spend time at the beach, go to the zoo, do the things that, we don't really get to do here in Canada when it's freezing cold outside, or it's certainly not enjoyable here in Canada when it's freezing cold outside. And so I made the decision to go back to this coach and say, look, I would love to work with you. I don't think that July and August is a time that's going to work for me, because this is a very large investment, and I want my commitment to you and to this amount of money to match the energy that I can put in. And I'm recognizing that right now, as we lead into July and August, I will not have 5 figures of energy to match this investment, and I want to get the most out of it. So I sent that note. I did not hear back. And then about 30 minutes later, this coach got on their Instagram stories and proceeded to talk about the fact that if one more person tells them that they can't commit to something over the summer because of the kids, they're going to essentially lose it. And proceeded to go on and talk about how lazy it is to have that mindset. And while, to be honest, it was kind of traumatic, I was also very grateful that I didn't go ahead and work with this person, because very clearly that wouldn't have been a fit. But this person does not have children, is not a primary parent. And it became very apparent why that wasn't going to be a fit. And it doesn't mean that she or they, I just at least told you the gender, that they wouldn't have helped me in my business. But when I talk about managing my sources, I know that if that is the mindset, right, that is where that person is coming from, that's their perspective, that it wouldn't have actually been supportive of me and my human at all. And so that is part of why managing my sources and who I'm hiring and who I'm bringing into my world, they need to have an understanding of what it's like to be in my shoes. And then the last one, really the fourth one, is really truly a commitment to being my own yardstick and to only measuring myself against myself against where I was a year ago. And as a former highly competitive person, this is hard for me. I grew up playing sports. I was a swimmer. I'm very competitive. And it's something that fortunately has lessened a little bit over the years. But I am very competitive. And so being my own yardstick now and being unapologetic about it is I will not compare myself to you. I will not compare myself to anybody else, people that are 10 years younger than me, building similar businesses that don't have children. I just won't do it. I'm not willing to put myself down the rabbit hole of comparing me and my version of reality to you or anybody else for that matter. And I want to invite you to do the same. And when we talk about really a lot of these things, right, being unapologetic about showing up as I am in my imperfection, being unapologetic about doing it differently, knowing that my version of my business is going to look different. Being unapologetic about managing the information that's coming in, right? Not all information that's coming in is going to be a fit for you or me, right? And then also being my own yardstick. A lot of this comes down to just truly recognizing and being okay with the fact that when you're a mom or a primary parent and building a business, it's just not the same as it is when you don't have children. And you may be sitting here, and if you don't have children, you're probably not listening to this podcast. But if you are, I want you to know that I've done it both ways. I have been an entrepreneur without children. I've been a career woman without children. And I have been an entrepreneur with children. I've done it both ways. And I know that it's harder. But the only way that can eat you, right? That can get to you. That sense of this is too hard. I can't do it. Yes, you can. You can do it. It just has to be different. And there are certain things that you will need to become unapologetic about. And that is okay. And that is honestly a lot of the work that I do with my clients, a lot of the work that we do in the Ambition Mastermind. But truly, being unapologetic about showing up the way that you are right now is so, so powerful. I am so grateful for you. I hope that this was valuable. If there was anything that you took out from it, please make sure you send me a DM. Let me know which of these 4 you're going to try on for size. I am so thankful for you, and I'll see you on the next one.